I wonder your thoughts. How did this rebel advance develop so quickly?
Well, I mean, from a military point of view, it's not that surprising because it is what tends to happen. I mean, if you look at what happened in Libya in 2011, in the civil war there, the civil war went all the way from Tripoli in the east, right through from Benghazi in the east, all the way to Tripoli in the west, and then all the way back from Tripoli to Benghazi again, across the whole North African coast. And the same happened in 2014 when ISIS attacked in Syria, northern Syria and Iraq, and they were at the gates of Baghdad within weeks. Because what tends to happen is that we're not dealing with densely populated areas here. So when one city falls or surrenders, the defenders fall back to the next city, which might be 40 or 50 miles away, and everybody just gets into their trucks and goes to the next city. So big areas get covered in these sorts of countries when there is an advance. And in this case, I've been struck by the fact that over the last days, very little fighting has taken place. The Russians have launched ferocious air attacks until a couple of days ago, which didn't stem the advance. And actually, the Syrian army didn't fight at all. And so, officers were leaving their units. And if their officer leaves the unit, then the unit just collapses. Why should people fight if the officers clear off? And there are lots of reports of officers, getting out of their uniforms, going into civilian clothes, just fleeing. When that happens, an army is in a state of complete collapse. And when collapse starts in one place, it tends to gets known about, starts somewhere else. So, I mean, what Assad was facing was encroachment on three fronts by three different groups. So he had HTS coming at him from the north. He had this group of this sort of ragbag group called the Southern Front coming at him in Daraa from the south. And he had the Kurdish group at Deir ez-Zor right out in the east taking that. So he was under pressure on three fronts from three different groups. And the Syrian army decided it wasn't going to fight. And so it didn't. So the groups, as they moved forward, were able to do deals saying, look, just leave your weapons and go home. There won't be any retribution, just leave. And that's what rank and file tend to do.
Yeah, what's so interesting, though, isn't it? With the help of Russia and Iran, Assad has been able to crush any opposition and survive. So why, then, is this rebel advance? Why now? Why has it been possible now, Michael?
Yeah, because the Russians and the Iranians were both engaged in very low-cost operations. So the Russians were providing air power, but not many boots on the ground in Syria, apart from the Wagner Group, who, of course, were effectively expelled with the Prigozhin coup in Russia in 2023. And the Iranians work through the Republican Guard, which are the Quds Force, the militias. They're quite well trained, but there are only small groups of them. So neither Russia nor Iran really committed much to Syria because backing up a ruthless dictatorship, which literally had, I mean, the Syrian civil war has killed almost 600,000 people. And almost 400,000 of them are civilians. And of those 400,000 civilians, 90% of them were killed, murdered by the Assad regime. So backing up such a murderous regime, in a sense, was quite cheap, because all you had to do was provide thugs on the ground. When that regime comes under any sort of sustained pressure, and this was pressure on three sides in three different places, suddenly that limited commitment that Russia and Iran was making wasn't enough. And so either they were going to commit much more or they were going to have to pull out. And both of them decided that they would throw Syria under the bus and pull out.
We've seen pictures this morning, Michael, of people celebrating in Damascus, chanting freedom. Many happy then, Assad is gone. What next?
Well, it would be nice to think that there might be some sort of multi-party group that might form. And the Prime Minister Jalali has said, I will carry on. I mean, he was working for Assad and he said, I will be in my office, I will carry on and I will work with anybody. And HTS, the main group, and Jalani, the leader of the group, has said we will form some sort of national front. But we'll see. I mean, the brutal truth, Leah, is that if you look across the Middle East, all Middle Eastern countries seem to require relatively autocratic governments. And Israel, of course, always says we are the only democracy in the Middle East. And there's some truth to that, even though the democracy in Israel has been under enormous strain in the last few years. But I mean, look in the Gulf, what you've got are kingdoms ruling with a sort of benevolent dictatorship, but they've got lots of money, they've got cash, so they can buy off a lot of protest. In the Levant itself, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Egypt, Iraq, you've got very strong either one-man or one-party governments, and right through to North Africa, the same. The nearest we have had to a multi-party government in an Arab state was in Tunisia after
Okay.
the Arab Spring, and that collapse. It just didn't go anywhere.